it's the pace draft is to me at least it's right now I feel like it's strange. They went Spectre into the Clockwork Darkseer lane, and I feel like you can get kind of pressured. You need some kind of heavy hitter range form to back this lane up.
Yeah, I feel like we had a few times in the EU games that we covered where
Yeah,
a
and
Spectre in
there's
the opener would like feel very
yeah, I mean
weak.
we talked about that before. The
Yeah.
Spectre, the opening. This is kind of a heavy hitter, I would say. Bane is probably one of the hardest. Bane, maybe the THD, Ikiro. One of the some of the harder hitters, like towards these like dual melee lanes where you can actually kind of disrupt the lane as just the one support. I'm not sure if this is actually going to be enough, just considering how much damage Darkseer Clockwork can output. The one cool thing is, I mean, Spectre can kind of leave the cogs. He can just dagger out, and I think Bane can do a reasonably good job at both stopping the Darkseer from cutting the wave, but also just harassing both the clock and Darkseer.
Do you think there's maybe just going to be a prioritization to harass the Spectre though? Because like usually the way we see kind of a Spectre's lane be supplemented so they can exist is heroes like Warlock, Witch Doctor, heroes that maybe can't sustain themselves but they sustain the carry.
No, I mean the thing is like this. I don't think you have that choice as a clock Darkseer lane against a Bane. It's not up to you. It's up to the Bane. Basically, what
Oh,
happens
okay.
in this lane. So basically, what happens in a lane like this is that the Bane hits these two guys, and the Spectre hits creeps, and they try to harass the Spectre, but they should be somewhat bullied out of this lane by the Bane to some extent. I think the Spectre should just be fine in this. I'm a little bit questioning this the Venomancer pick. To me, at least, this seems odd. Also, there's something a little bit off on the four melee cores of four Zoomers.
I can't imagine what it is. Is it the fact that they
There's a,
all look like pos freeze? Oh well, not life stealer, but they all
I
look
mean,
like they got weird kind of clashes, right?
yeah, there's something that's awkward. Like I'm not sure who's the position five. I mean, yeah, maybe it's a Slaughter and the Darkseer lane. Like potentially, I wouldn't really mind the Slaughter as a 3. I think in this, I'm not sure if the Darkseer goes into position 4 and just kind of helps the Slaughter, and there's a clock 5, because the Veno or Earthspirit lane doesn't do all too much against Nakes, against Lifestealer. I think he should be okay-ish. I think that's all you're gonna need when you actually have the Slaughter to back up the damage from the Lifestealer with the amp against Spectre.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it feels as if there's these interesting, funky things going on both sides, right? Like we're kind of looking at four Zoomers. They've kept their draft kind of concealed, whereas Pace have made theirs very obvious. And I feel like what they've also set, true to the name of their university, is like the final pick has to set pace, right? It has to be some sort of active hero. Because right now, I'm seeing Veno, I'm seeing Spectre. I'm not really seeing, like, other than the Earthspirit, I'm not really seeing who does things for you. Whereas for Zoomers, almost all their heroes are willing to kind of like rotate, make plays, look for kills.
I mean, what I see is I see 3 supports and a Spectre, and on the other side I see 4 kind of tanky heroes, and I think it's kind of hard to bring down these heroes, all of them.
Oof, wow. And you know what? My heart was going. I was like, for Zoomers, is this the 5 melee strat against the Venomancer? But they adapt. They bring out the Invoker. This should maybe make things clear now. Like the Clockwork should be the 5.
Yeah, yeah,
Slardar 4.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to some extent at least. I think that the weird thing is that if they're up against the Venomancer, I feel like this is one of these lanes where you can go for this kind of maxing out poisons thing, or potentially I mean, I'm assuming he's gonna go for the wards like people do generally, because none of these heroes can actually bring down the wards quick enough to be a threat to them. But I feel like this is a lane where you can actually threaten. Oof. And this is a big curveball.
Does it feel like a free brood game? Because there's like ways of dealing with it, right? But not initially, especially for the Invoker.
I feel like, I mean, from my point of view, I feel like you kind of need to rethink your idea here. You might have to go for either a Slaughter or a Darkseer in the mid lane. The Brood versus Invoker lane is very, very rough for Invoker. And yeah, it is gonna be
Yeah, there we
Gunner
go.
on Darkseer. They're gonna switch it around because I think you cannot lane Invoker against Broodmother. That is not a that's not a lane. It cannot happen against a good Brood player.
I like that they switched that up, and I like that they didn't choose to go the Slardar route. So like, I remember it must have been a year or two ago. It was a decent pick against the Broodmother, but with the change Slavery and Crush, the damage not being as high, you wouldn't really stop the Brood. Whereas like Darkseer can deter at least. So I'm glad they made that change. How are we faring this though? Because it feels like Zoomers they've adjusted. Have they adjusted well enough? Like we're looking at the outer lanes and going, Zoomers can kind of dominate pace, or is it the other way around?
I think it's like this. Depending on how the mid matchup goes, I'm not entirely sure. The Spiderlings have some increased magic reduction now. They should be able to withstand some of the Iron Shell, and Brood can farm. But thing is, I look at it and it's like Pace. They don't have any stuns, right? They have a Bane Grip. That's it. They have Rolling Boulder. They have the Earth Spirit stuns, if you can call them stuns. I think, to me, it looks a little bit support heavy on the side of Pace. And I would be a little bit worried if Spectre can carry this against a Lifestealer with amplification damage.
That's a fair point actually as well, because like, you know what? I'm gonna give credit for Zoomers. They have actually lived up to the name of their team because everything about this lineup is speedy. Like Clockwork's got quick initiation. You've literally got Surge. Lifestealer is one of the fastest carries in the game. Slardar as well. Invokers can get really fast to the Wex in the late game. They are literally living their name.
I don't know. Depending on what the Venomancer does in the lane, how much you can pressure the Lifestealer, I think like this. If the Venomancer could pressure, man, I'm actually thinking, because the thing is like this Slardar lane, it's gonna be Slardar Clockwork, and I think if I'm Spectre in this lane, I think that these guys cannot pressure me that much. I feel like I could be offset by maybe an Earthbird. I just feel like if the Venomancer could pressure the Nakes in the lane, if him and Bane could do a good job of shutting down the Lifestealer, I think that might be a better lane, a better decision to shut down the Lifestealer, because the Lifestealer is gonna be the dominant force in this game, the way I see it from the Radiant side. For the Zoomers, I just feel like if you can shut him down, I think then you shut down a lot of what they want to be doing on Zoomers.
I like how you're trying to find the way for pace. It's good as well. Holy crap, my opinion.
I'm trying. I'm trying my best.
It's good to see that, right? Because, you can see they're happy to be here. This, of course, is one of the university teams. They came from the collegiate system to get here. I think that's a lot of people cheering for Dino, and I can understand why when he spends his time in pauses saying hello to Twitch chat. But, it's their opportunity to try and prove themselves. And, like, it's that type of thing. You don't want that negative attitude of, oh, we're going to lose. Let's just learn from this. But this is the important part is you are going to learn a lot going up against a competitive team versus, yeah, we're all top immortal 100 players who win our pub games.
Yeah. So one thing in general, when you pick the Spectre hero, I think this hero has always been one of these heroes where if you can disrupt the supports as Spectre, then the hero is already okay. But towards these supports, you don't actually do anything. There's a Clockwork, there's a, yeah, okay, maybe you could argue
There's
that the
four
Invoker is
heroes going for Dean right now.
yeah, you're gonna get the first blood here, but the thing is, you don't do anything as a Spectre towards these heroes. This is not an amazing Spectre game by any means.
So it's all on the Brood then. This is what it feels like we're pivoting towards.
The idea of the Spectre has been that you can disrupt heroes like like Lich, Warlock, Bane, like a lot of these range hero supports. They want to cast their spells, but they're not allowed to against a Spectre.
Also,
However,
blink-based heroes, right? Ones that rely on
yeah,
blink dagger for
exactly.
initiation.
Blink-based heroes, but Clockwork and Darkseer, like these heroes, Invoker might care to a small extent, but not very much. And I just fear that the Spectre might not be enough. I mean, if this Brood pops off completely, then I think they could have a good chance, for sure. If
Yeah,
this was
that's like
33,
always the argument with Brood, right? Like, if there's a Brood in a game, if a Brood can pop off, it becomes a Brood mother game. Like,
I mean,
that's just a
when
given.
I played with 33 on my team, I had full faith in his Broodmother, and we would always ask him if he said Brood go, if he said this is a Broodmother game, then I would trust him 100%. And so I always have a 100% faith, even if I cannot see the win condition as a player. If my Broodmother player sees it, then I will completely agree with this.
All right, podcast. What I'm really hearing at you here is that usually you pick Spectre and 33 would get the Brood Mother, and then he'd have to carry you.
No, I just think it's something along the lines of like a Broodmother player. It's a specialist, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Meepo player, right? It's the same kind
It
of
is.
like it's a you pick it because they're confident they can carry the game on their shoulders, more or less.
Yes, and I think this game is very much so up to the Broodmother player. He has the last pick, and I feel like he has to have a tremendous impact here. And especially, I mean, yeah, they switched the lanes around, but I think he still has to have a massive impact. I can definitely see there are not a lot of counters in this lineup against the Brood, except for Darkseer. I think he could easily invade these other lanes and make them very difficult.
I think the problem is like already this Spectre, like you mentioned it, it's not a good Spectre game. His lane hasn't even started well. I am concerned with just how well Gunnar is already doing the mid lane because Darkseer, it feels like he's one of these heroes dictating the current meta, right? Like he's almost always being considered for pick or ban in the games we've been seeing recently.
Yeah, and you can also see him. He's just cutting lanes, right? He's not actually fighting the Brood. He
He's
doesn't want to
doing
be
the
fighting
Brood
Brood.
Mother's role. He's literally brooding.
He's becoming the Brood, right? So his idea, he just wants to cut the wave, and then he goes to farm the camps. And this is what the Brood wants to do. And when you can push the lane faster than the Broodmother can, then you're ruining the idea of this Broodmother pick. What the Broodmother wants to do is attack a single target hero or the likes of it, and then farm the jungle and become this big force. But when you have heroes like Slaughter on your team, this Broodmother can always be susceptible to a lot of damage. Just, you know, a Naix can kill you really fast inside of an infested Slaughter or Clockwork or whatever, what have you, right?
I mean, we'll just have to hope that like he can live up to expectations. You know, it'd be a shame if like this just becomes.
I mean, that depends if you're
already
playing
a
favorite,
bit stompy.
right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We gotta be neutral, fuck out, all right? We ain't biased, all right? You know, we weigh up both sides because the pace they probably put on their uniforms today. I don't think American universities wear uniforms. Maybe they do. Maybe they got like a dude, that's an idea. Because you know how you got like sports teams, they have the really kind of nice pretty colors on their uniforms for like the American football. Esports teams. Maybe they've got their own sets of jerseys already. All right, maybe pace
so
address
we're
that.
seeing bottom here. There's gonna be some 2
A
kills
little bit
here,
trading.
some supports
See,
trading their
this is
lives.
the lane that's going well for them though, right? Like, bot lane, so far pace are getting some pressure on. The Venom's having a good start. He's already got 2 kills to his name.
Yeah, but that's the question though. Is it enough? Because I think the Venom enter, he wants to be having a better lane than this. He wants to dominate the Nyx at this point. He has Gloves of Haste. He's going for Midas. And Venomous has Boots. I feel like this is not enough at this stage. I think the Bruno has to do much better right now.
Jeez, come on, Pike. Did you just come from a funeral or something? Like, you're speaking as if the writing is already on the wall for pace.
No, not at all. There's definitely some chances for Pace to do well in this game. It's just that.
Are you like that hard-ass coach, right, on the sports team? Like you care, and that's why you're just like, do more, work harder, beat up Husky, kick his ass, stick him in the ground. You know, that like really aggressive coach.
I don't think I'm not that aggressive, I think.
No, I think we're gonna build up to that. You're gonna get like frustrated. I don't get why they're not doing this. Just do it. We build
I just
up.
think that the way these lineups build is, I think that the Dire have to be slightly ahead. Okay, so basically the Spectre has to be really, really tanky and far ahead in this game.
Doesn't look like it right now.
I think he's okay.
Yeah, he's out, but like
But he's
he's not
also
getting
at
anything.
11 CS
Mm-hmm.
at 5 minutes in the game, and that's not. They are up slightly, and I think that the Brute is doing well. I think what the Brute player here he's doing is very smart. He does not want to go into kind of a war with the Darkseer. He can farm jungle much faster, and I think you have to recognize this, that you don't want to go into a war of fighting Darkseer for the lane. You kind of just farm jungle as Brute here. This is something that the 33 Neta he always talked about, that the Brute can farm the jungle much faster than anyone else can.
That's true. It's like it's that whole notion of I have options, right? When you think about if we talk about like recently mid heroes, when you see things like AA and why it doesn't work, it doesn't have options. It has to like bully the lane. It has to come out ahead. It has to stay in the lane. Can't ever go jungle. Whereas Brood is a hero that can accelerate through the jungle, pressure towers if you leave lanes. It's kind of like taking elements of what makes certain mids good and then just making a jack of all trades.
Yeah, but this is not an amazing Brute game. It's probably a good game. I mean, to be fair, I am not the judge of this. I
Just
was never
message Neta
Brute.
right now, like, yo, bro, you awake?
No. I think Brute players, they're special. They're a certain. It's a certain breed. It's a certain type of person who plays Brute.
You like go
It's
back and forth between having respect in your voice and having disgust whenever you discuss them like this.
I respected my teammate when he played Brood Mother.
Yeah, that's where
And
it is. I was like, yeah, you love 33.
All the other Brood players who are not 33.
Do you hate this guy right now? Did you just see that micro?
Yes, I do. I mean, he's not 33.
All right, Pycat. Appropriate to his name, rate him 1 to 5 stars. Based on what you've seen so far.
I mean, he's not 3 out of 3.
That's true. That's the optimal number.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I think he's doing a good job, and I think his idea so far has been correct of like what you're supposed to do as the Brood. I think that in a game like this, I think you're supposed to invade the other lanes at some point. I think once you get he has the level 4 webs, I think this is where you kind of start looking at taking over, because what the Brood can do is you can invade other lanes, and it's not so easy for other heroes to rotate, especially the Slaughter's gonna hit 6 soon. But it's not so easy for other heroes to invade other lanes, whereas the Brood, he can invade them. And he can take tier 1's towers, and he can be very disruptive at this point.
Okay, here's my problem with your kind of like your philosophy. If he can go other places, he can do other things, right? Gunnar right now is just switching on like the best be together hits, right? Like wherever you go, I will go. He's just gonna probably shadow any movement the Brood makes towards the lane and sit there. And he's getting so much gold out of it currently.
Yeah, but that's where the Brood can rotate faster, right? I mean, that's the whole idea. Like, that's the concept of this hero, I think, at least.
Do you not think it's broadcasted because of the webs, though?
It is to some extent, but the Broodmother can rotate between 2 lanes, right? The Darkseer, he can port to 1 lane and he's stuck there, right? Yeah, he can surge back, but the Broodmother, the 453 move speed, and the Broods, the Spiderlings at 550, they can rotate much faster than a Darkseer can. He can port there and he can help out.
And
but
that Darkseer is in trouble right now.
Even if you can lock him down for a little bit, you're buying space. But the question is this going to be enough? Because I do like very heavily favor the Zoomer lineup going later on into the game. Just the Slaughter offsets so much of what Brood wants to do later on in the game.
Speaking of that, Brood trying to move away, Tornado's going to come through, which interrupts the EMP, so he's out. But like, this is kind of par for the course, because when you check what Pace done a moment ago, they rotated more heroes to try and kill off Gunnar, and they're still attempting it right now. They're going to get him low, look to bring him down. He can't do anything with that surge. He does die. Nice pick. But, it's a big part, I can't lie. Lifestealer has been uncontested for the most, now has the Midas complete. When do you shift attention?
You're kind of happy with this. Midas is... No, it actually might be okay here in this scenario where you're just allowed to sit in this lane, and you see the Veno, he opted for the 2 points into Venomous Gale. I think this is really rough against a hero like Lifestealer, where you can kind of just offset the Gale. Like, this is aimed towards the support primarily. I would say I think the Venomancer should be the idea behind what his idea in this game is to pressure much more so than kill. He's supposed to be pressure. Him and the Broodmother, they're supposed to play similar roles in different lanes. But I feel like he's putting himself into a role where he's supposed to kill heroes, which he cannot.
No, and they're not even pressuring in different lanes. Like, you're already seeing in the mid. It's actually the tier 1 for pace that goes down with that rotation coming out where Lifesteal infested the catapult. And, well, this just kind of feels like pace are a bit lost. They keep finding their way back to the mid lane. Like, that's kind of their safe point. That's their compass, their center. But they're not able to find any direction from there of something to do. It's always just, they walk here, Brood tries for a kill, doesn't work. Okay, I guess we'll just let the outer lanes be as they are.
I think in this game, the Spectre, he really needs Manta. He needs to be able to kind of offset this amplified damage. It's gonna be way too difficult for him to do with this. And if he becomes big enough, then maybe there's a kind of a way to deal with this Zoomer lineup.
You're looking for the passing of the baton, aren't you? You know,
I
that,
feel
like when
like
does the Brood stop carrying? Sort of
I just
feeling.
think that the way that the Zoomers get to play this game is a lot easier.
Oh boy.
It's very simple for them to play this game.
And they're going to prove it. They just run down stars and kill them off. They got the drums. They can chase forth for more. The Hornet's going to be a complete waste. I'm not really sure what they were hoping to achieve with that. I guess really Spectre just wanted to feel like he participated in the game, and his name is what he is in this game. He's a lie. Because he abandons everyone, lets them die. And that might be... I feel like that's just like... That's the kind of match now setting fire to the gasoline, right? Like, that's now... No Horn means we can run around and start pressuring towers and doing what we want as Zoomers.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that maybe... I really don't want to be the guy who, like...
You don't want to be the guy who says,
Kyle?
like, oh, it's pretty much like done at 12 minutes and I told you so.
No. Kyle says this shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to do that.
I don't want to be... But,
you don't want to...
But I feel like Brood...
You gotta choose. You can be Brood
I was
Lover
just
right
about
now,
to say
or be
that
Kyle.
Brood is not about... He's not allowed to die more than once in this game. I was just about to say.
I mean, this prediction is a bit late, dude. He already died once. This is the second one.
I feel like you interrupted...
He died
You
before... What?
me.
No. He died before that. That was his second
I
death.
didn't have the time to say
I
that.
didn't have the time to check the scoreboard. I didn't have the time for the numbers.
No, I think that the thing is this Brood has to be much more disrupted than he is at this point, I think. Because Spectre is not like this is an entirely one core based lineup around the Spectre, and there's a Slaughter. Like the Slaughter will offset a lot of like, okay, so Nakes, he's not a good, like he's fine against one hero, right? The idea is Spectre needs a Manta style to kind of offset the amplified damage at some point. Maybe if the game goes late enough, Slaughter can get to 25, he gets this amplify, doesn't get dispellable, right? And Spectre can kind of tear through most, Lifestealer, can tear through most of the dire lineup. But I think the way the game is going is that the Darkseer, he's gonna be so high leveled, and he's gonna get to this. He went for Pipe early on. I could see him go for Pipe or Greaves potentially. Personally, I actually think I would prefer Greaves just because it offsets the amplified damage, and the armor I think is maybe more so important in this game than the Pipe. But it's fine either way. He's gonna offset a lot of what the pace lineup does. Like the Venomancer, and I think the Earth Spirit, their impact is going to be very limited, thanks to the fact that he has a Pipe or Greaves in this scenario. And I think that the Brood has so much on his shoulders in this scenario, and going from this point on with the 2 deaths, I think it's going to be very difficult for him.
Okay, will you give him more numbers if he keeps wasting all of Zuma's time like this? Like, is he allowed more deaths if this works?
No. He cannot be allowed to waste time for Zoomers. He has to be the one taking initiative.
Got it. So he has to be
needs to be the pressure. This is the last pick, right? This is the hero that is supposed to apply the most amount of pressure. And I think you have to, you have to apply a lot of pressure as this Broodmother right now. You have to understand your purpose in this game. You're not the carry. You're supposed to make a lot of pressure happen onto this lineup so that your Spectre can be allowed time. I mean, ideally, if you're a strong enough Brood player, you can give so much space that the 4 Zoomer lineups is very kind of controlled, and so the Spectre is allowed so much space. But I think that with these 2 deaths, it's very scary now for pace.
Yeah, it feels like he's now gone on guard, and you've got these kind of funny Benny Hills moments where he's running around circles, they can't touch him, but they don't really do anything with it. And this is a decent kill on the Invoker, but like, what's your next objective? Like, what do you convert this into? Because you're not going to push on mid. There's too many heroes here. Like, you're not going to find an additional kill. Instead, you're going to give one over. As Veno gets trapped in the river, the Nightmare to try and protect him, but the Cogs will push him back, force Staff to get up the high ground, the vacuum back, because they say, where the hell are you going?
Yeah, and I think the way I look at this, at least, I think that the pace, they need to... The way their lineup works, at least in my eyes, is that the Veno and the Brood, they should work as... Like, these 2 heroes, they both should be doing the same thing. They should be pressuring a hero, at least each, into kind of sitting in this lane and defending against this hero. But they haven't really accomplished this. Either one of them, the Brood with 2 deaths, and now the Veno just dying. I think this game is only going to get continuously worse for the pace lineup.
You know what else was really crappy for pace as well? It's like, well, pulls that forward, Stars is going to die first. Then we can get back to it because the bash is there just in time. But it's the fact that, oh, they're not done. The fact that they're going to get 2 kills, but like what you're seeing here, right, is everyone rally behind Brood or Spectre or Venomancer, because usually if you're in this situation, if you're pace, what you'd like to have is a support that can shove the dangerous lanes, right? They don't have that. They have these bodyguardy type supports, and they're not even bodyguarding. They're like the worst bodyguards ever. Like if they were on the presidential detail, every president in the history of America would have been assassinated.
I mean, and that's the whole, I think, idea of their lineup. Basically, the idea is that Broodmother and Venomancer, these are 2 heroes. They sit in lane, and they pressure whichever hero is in their lane, right? And Bane and Earthbird, they come to these lanes, and they get kills, right? So when the pace lineup, when these heroes, if they leave their lanes, they're not fulfilling their roles, and that means that their supports cannot do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be pressuring the Lifestealer and the Darkseer, and then the supports are supposed to come to rotate and help out. But when they're not able to pressure the supports, they have no purpose. And I think this is something you can see right now, that the support on pace, they have no idea what to do. They have no purpose in this game. The Brood is not pressuring his lane in the mid lane. You can see the tier 1 is still standing at, I think this is 65% HP. Yeah, he's gonna send some Spiderlings and big whoop, but they're not accomplishing what they're supposed to in this game. The pace course, the Venomancer and the Broodmother.
No,
and
it's just starting to escalate to a point.
Yeah.
Like, what is your backup plan? Because like right now, pace is sitting there going, Spectre can bring us back eventually.
Yeah,
but,
and that's just not the case.
Yeah, how are you ever gonna get to that
not
point?
in this scenario. No. Ideally, the Spectre can do a lot in this game. Yes, theoretically, I think a Spectre could potentially carry, 5 slots going into this game. Anything can happen, right? Or 6 slots. But I think at this point, I think it's much too difficult for a Spectre to do this alone against amplified damage.
I think this is so, like, it feels like we've highlighted execution as well as draft. Like, looking at the way this is playing out, do you think this was them not giving themselves a backup plan with their draft? Or was it just, like, the way they executed?
To me, at least, I think first of all, it's about the Broodmother player. If you're expecting this draft to come into a Broodmother, like, if your idea is that this is going to be a Broodmother game, then this is about the Broodmother playing, knowing or not knowing his limits. But to me, this looks like a draft issue. I think if you look at the pace, the heroes, there's not a single stun here. They don't have any. The lanes are okay. They're not necessarily weak, but I think they pressure the same points. The pace heroes, they're mainly built around magic damage. And I think these 4 heroes, like, yes, Broodmother targets heroes that cannot deal with the, multiple unit damage, right? You need the AoE damage to deal with Brood. Venomancer, Earthspirit, and Bane, they all suffer from the same counters. Basically, magic immunity or some sort of magic dispel. Lifestealer, respect the Lifestealer Juggernaut, etc. Heroes that build early BKB. That's their counter. And they're picking these heroes early on, and I think this is not something you can do unless you have a plan to kind of counteract what these Lifestealer Juggernaut type heroes are supposed to deal with, right? Like a hero like maybe, let's say, Ursa, or I don't even know, because he's also single target, right? So they're still going to be stuck with this issue of pushing out lanes, and I just think that this is maybe a slightly flawed way of drafting.
It's an interesting point that you're raising there, because too often we hear people talk about this whole idea of, say, for example, damage composition, right? Like magical versus physical. People don't often get onto the style of play, like the targeting, like AoE versus individual, like in depth of the way they want to play. Like this team relies on slows, this one has stuns, and whether that composition is good. And I think that's like what you're highlighting, is this fact that it's not as much whether the damage breakdown is bad. It's like what each of these heroes want to do, the way they want to fight, the way they want to play the game is too identical, and it's put you in this worrisome situation where you don't have this backup plan, as they're just getting to get over. Venom's down, Spirit's gone as well, and Sammy Boy, he's relentless. MKB on this Lifestealer. Hits for over 200 damage. I don't feel like anyone can even stand in front of him now.
No, and I feel like this is yeah, but the damage, like I think each draft needs a composition that is kind of, there has to be balance, right? In a draft. Like generally you need to think about, okay, how strong are we in the laning phase? How strong are we at dealing with pushing waves? How strong is this draft at scaling towards the late game, right? Ideally, a draft wins 2 out of 3 lanes and can also scale. And when I look at this draft, I think that this draft
is getting dismantled.
Has to. No. This draft has to win lanes. The pace lineup. If it does not win lanes, this draft it cannot do anything without winning lanes. This is it's completely reliant on doing very well in the lanes, and when you can't do that, then you don't have so many options, and so it's not that well rounded, I think.
It's fair where you're coming from, but let's not pretend it's over. Like, maybe you can make the argument like pace on a pro team, then like tier 1, tier 2, they don't understand when the game is over, but they seem to feel like there's still a way in. Do you feel like there is some strategy you can pull off, or does this just look like a game where, you know, you've had it in your pub games, right, where you just sit in your base, like, maybe if they screw up and they just like dive us right now, we can get back in this?
I don't know. I think, to be totally honest, I think this is kind of, it's really difficult for Pace to come back into this. I think the Broodmother is useless at this point. I think the whole idea is that the heroes are not supposed to be able to deal with Spiderlings at this point. But the Broodmother's Spiderlings were never kind of a focal point of this game. And so right now, the Broodmother at 2.5, right? KDA. Not that KDA is important in itself, but she's 6k behind the Lifestealer. And what this hero does is it farms faster than any other hero in the game, pretty much.
I mean, maybe this is the fight where they can do something. The Poison Nova comes out, the Horn in as well. Ocean will be brought down, hook shot through. Infest bomb out, trying to stun up Stars. He's going to try and juke and move away. Husky is going to be brought down. So they do take a few picks. The buyback comes out. Bane stun on a free. Now they're able to wail on top of Axe. He backs one away, but it looks like he's going to live. And now Monkey's Forever is going to be chased down instead. The roll through is off the mark. Nice livery and crush. The Lotus Orb to try and protect him. Vacuum comes in though. Sammy Boy. Or Gunner rather, hitting on the multiple heroes. Sammy Boy in the meantime is going to be napped on. He will be able to get out of the Nightmare in the meantime. Will be chased forward with the use of the Surge and the Bash on the first hit, which seems totally reasonable and not absurd to me. Will allow him to actually clean up the fight into a victory in the end.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a way that you play this lineup from base. At this point, it's a 17k goal difference at 25 minutes, and
yeah,
I feel like
they're feeling like you do right now. I just feel like as this has gone on, because some people go sitting there like, man, Pycats really kind of grind on these guys. But it's like you kind of have to, because they're in this match, they're against 4-0.